So recently I was asked by one of my subscribers to discuss the lighting in the movie Mandy. Now before I begin, this will reveal some spoilers, so if you haven't seen the movie yet, go check it out first and then come back here. I also want to start off with saying that this is strictly my personal opinion. It's not a reflection of how I feel about the movie, the genre, or the storytellers. We all know how hard it is to get a movie made, start to finish. Okay, so let's get started. I broke down the lighting in this movie into 3 different types because I feel like all 3 are in this movie. Good lighting, fake good lighting, and bad lighting. Let's start with good lighting. The lighting that I would consider the best is in the outdoor scene with Mandy walking through the forest. This scene stood out to me the most for a few reasons. The contrast in the scene is stellar. The color palette isn't just one single color. The lighting on the actress draws my eye to her, and the lighting for both her and the dead animal is on the correct side of the line, for the most part, until the very end. Another quick shot that I thought was gorgeous was the scene after she was murdered. The soft blue colors mixed with the orange-red of the embers were absolutely stunning. Now, you might be thinking, is that all the good lighting, just those 2 scenes? Well, kind of. It brings up my next point, which is fake good lighting. So this is a term I made up specifically for this film. Basically put, you can take bad lighting and overlay an image on top of that, saturate with colors or contrast, and alcadabra, you have a beautiful shot again. And if you've seen the director's previous films, like Beyond the Black Rainbow, these types of images will look familiar. A lot of filmmakers will use this technique, but rarely do they use it for the whole movie. Even in this scene of them watching TV on the couch, we can see as the camera zooms in how the lighting looks without that overlaid image. Flat to the camera, shadows on Nick Cage's face to the point that you can barely see him, and the beautiful glow from the window is now lost. Not ideal in terms of lighting. And there's a lot of these types of shots scattered throughout the movie. The type where if you get rid of the overlaid image, the shot is either too dark, flat, or just badly lit. Now, there's actually a second part to this as well. Beautiful bad lighting, which basically follows all the rules of lighting, but your eye is drawn somewhere else first. Let's look at the scene of the main bad guy in bed. The wide shot is pretty, except for a few things. One of which is, where does your eye go first when looking at the frame? Mine went straight to the brightest part, which is the window. I had to then force myself to then look at the actors in the frame. Now, what happens if I pan the camera just a little bit to the right and crop out the window? If this was the new framing, my eye would instantly go to the center where the actors are. This may seem like a small thing, but it's hugely important. Sometimes these small tweaks are what keep an audience engaged in a movie or not engaged. Also, if this was a scene that I had shot, I would make the man lying in bed the brightest in the frame, as he is the most important of the other characters. Now here is a reverse shot of the woman. Beautiful lighting, strong backlight, and then most likely a bounce board to return the light onto the right side of her face. The only issue that I have with it is the color palette. Let me explain. I once shot a scene with colors exactly like this. The director came up to me and asked, why do they look like Oompa Loompas? Meaning, why do they look so blue and purple? I quickly realized that if you're going to light a scene this way, the easiest way to make it look good is to add a small amount of contrasting color, like this. It can come from anywhere. It doesn't have to be a flare of the lens, but showing at least 2 color tones will make the image more interesting to look at than a single color dominating the frame. Which brings me to the bad lighting in this movie. One thing I hate about critics is they don't know the limits the filmmakers have. Let's take a look at the campfire scene, for example. This might have been the last scene of the night to shoot, or they may have had the whole day to shoot this scene. Regardless, they chose to either light it using real or fake firelight with flat, single-tone colors for both actors. Nothing in the background to separate them, lighting so dimly that it's almost non-existent, at least on Nicolas Cage's character. To me, as a gaffer, this is the stuff I think.
It's boring as shit.
And there are a lot of dark, boring lit scenes in this movie, with single-tone colors. And the one scene that started interesting instantly went bad the moment Nick's character flips on the light switch overhead. At the very least, they could have added a skirt, which is a black fabric around the outside of the light to limit the amount of light that spills onto the wall while still letting it hit the actor. This allows for contrast in a shot that now has none. Or what about the shot where it goes from good lighting to bad? The instant Nick Cage's character walks inside, she turns her head away from the key light, which is the only thing lighting her. He walks up, but not close enough to stand out from the shadows, and the whole time my eye is ping-ponging between the lamps inside and outside the house. Until the very end when they hit their last mark and the lighting on them looks good enough, but now the scene is over. So what is my overall impression of the lighting? Even though it has its own distinct style, the lighting should never distract you from the story or the characters, like I feel it does in this movie. So on a score from 1 to 10, I'd give it a 4 or 5. Again, we don't know what the restrictions of the filmmakers had when making the movie, and making a movie is hard enough without critics like me giving my 2 cents opinion about it. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. Now,
Get the fuck out of my office.